What a mess. The setup is a mess. So I wanted to... Alright, I'm gonna apologize straight off the rip, right off the bat here, for any technical errors or poor quality, be that audio or video. So, sorry. This is a new foray for me. And I'm gonna try to keep this mostly unscripted. I know I have a piece of paper right here, but it's not a script. It's a point list. Okay, it's not a script. It's different. I wanted to sit and chat about something that I had been thinking about after I had read a book. This book here, Beta Exercise. So I read this and was inspired to sit down and talk a little bit. So this book, Beta Exercise, called Beta Exercise, The Theory and Practice of Osamu Kanemura. You may or may not have heard of him. Who he is, so Osamu Kanemura is a Japanese photographer whose claim to fame are his dense, chaotic, urban street photos that he took throughout the 90s. And he still takes photos, but his claim to fame were the ones he took throughout the 90s, during the economic turmoil experienced in Japan during that time period. So he really focused in on the urban detritus that had cluttered up the city, like signs and wires and bicycles and other shit. So he wrote this book, Beta Exercise, in 2019. And it's filled with a myriad of topics in the form of essays and interviews, in which he talks about his opinions on film and photography and art in general and politics and consumerism and capitalism. It's really interesting. But I wanted to focus on the most relevant things he talked about in the book and what I'm going to be talking about here, which are his thoughts on digital photography and modern photography as a whole. And these thoughts and the things that he says in the book are not necessarily new. It's not like it blew my mind. It just was put very succinctly and confirmed thoughts that I had already had. So I wanted to talk about some of my personal frustrations with modern photography and with digital photography in particular, and how those things have sucked the last bit of value and meaning that the art form had left out of it. And I'm not about to go on a screed on digital photographers and how film is so much better. If you don't shoot on film, what are you doing? It's not trying to do that. It's more so the changes that have come about with the advent of digital photography, the changes that has had on the mindset of the photographer, and a seeming over-reliance on post-production. Digital photography will accelerate this absence or erasure of the artist. True artistry requires effort. It requires skill. It requires struggle. And digital photography has done nothing but remove those elements. If anyone can take a perfectly good photo with no effort at all, and they consider themselves a photographer, what really separates them from someone who is taking photos on an iPhone? Is it overly stylized, overly staged, over-the-top shit? No. Photography has always been a unique thing because you're not creating anything. Even photography, when it arose, you're not creating anything. The photographer is still an artist, though, because he has to use his intuition, he has to use his aesthetic talent and his eye to know what to capture, to distill an image, a beautiful image from life into a film frame, into a composition. You still have to do that. And to do that, you have to know your camera. You have to have mastery over the functions of the camera, over the equipment. You had to know everything about exposure, about composition, and about development, because any mistake during the process could result in the loss of weeks worth of photos, dozens of photos. The acquisition of technique in art is a kind of labor. Digital photography, which does not derive meaning through the repetitive process of learning unfamiliar techniques, overtly ridicules the artistic hand. Digital photography removes the necessity of mastering a craft. And film photography required thought. Each shot on a film camera cost money. If you imagined every shot as costing $1, then you had to consider whether or not that photo was worth $1. There had to be intention behind it. There was no instant feedback in film photography. You could not check the photo immediately after you've taken it, and so you had to have confidence in your skill and your mastery over the camera. You had to have confidence that you configured the camera properly when you were taking photos. And the manual development process after you've taken the photos was precise. It required patience. It required dedication. This process, the whole process, created a craftsman out of a photographer. You had to know the mechanics just as much as you had to know the creative drive behind the photos. Digital photography, on the other hand, is thoughtless. You take a photo, you look at the photo, you take another photo. If you need to adjust it, your camera can do it for you, or the settings make it so that you can view the changes you're making on the fly. This creates a situation in which you have no consequence and therefore no risk. The issue that comes up when your camera does everything for you is that you're going to take the path of least resistance. The automatic settings remove the need for technical knowledge, and the ability to crop removes the need to have intentional composition. Post-processing replaces photographic skill. Are you confident enough to not crop or edit your photos? Photography is no longer about doing anything profound or intellectual, and that sounds cringe, and it is, but it's true. People want to look like photographers, they don't want to be photographers. You've seen it, everybody knows it. Everybody sees these pictures with the Dream Effects filter, neon lights in a motel, or this, all the fake nostalgia shit has got to go. The fake nostalgia shit has got to go. Do we really need more photos taken through the eyes of a bisexual? Does the world need that? Because the mastery over skill is gone, style has to compensate. Everybody has their style. Everybody's got to have their quirk. Nobody can just take a good picture and that be that. Everybody has to put their swag on it so that they can leave their mark. And you see it on social media. On Twitter, it's like a fucking virus. These people. Photos I took at 3 a.m. Photos I took in the American South. Photos I took while I was depressed. They're all the same. They're indistinguishable from one another. These photos will not be hung in a gallery or in a museum one day. They will be lost into the bits of the internet to be forgotten about forever. No one will come back in a year and look at these photos. But I don't think the people even care about that. The photographers don't even care that their photos are nothing. Their goal, the dream of the photographer now is to have a coffee table book. It's to have a fucking book that you put in your coffee table. That's their dream. They don't want to take a photo that's looked back on for all of history, or condense the beauty that God has created in nature into a box to view at home. They want to be on a coffee table. And it's because of this mindset that it's not about being on film. I think that learning film and learning how to shoot on film is important, but I don't think that that would save the art form. I think that the problem is the people. The problem is the mindset. And so I think that gatekeeping is necessary. Not everyone should be a photographer. Not everybody can be, but that's okay. It's the YouTube tutorial mentality that causes a lot of problems as well, because you get someone who receives a camera for Christmas or for their birthday. They get a camera, and then they go on YouTube, and if you go on YouTube and you search how to be a photographer, you get a million fucking videos from these people that are just grifters who could not give a shit about anything. And their videos always look bad. They're always visually unappealing, telling you how to take photos. Fuck you. So you get these people that watch a YouTube video about the exposure triangle, and then they go out and I took my friend Sarah's grad photos. I took my dad and my stepmom's wedding photos. I'm a photographer. Shut the fuck up. You are nothing. You are not a photographer. You should not be allowed to own a camera. You should not have the right to own a camera. Sorry. You just shouldn't. It's visco shit. Remember that? Visco shit. So, is there a solution? I wish there was a simple fix. It's wishful thinking to assume everyone would start learning film before using digital. That's obviously unrealistic, and I don't think that it would even help. I think that respect to the process has to be restored. People should not use photography as a grift or as a form of content creation. But I think that once all the innocence and genuine love has been sucked out of the craft, then I don't know if it can be put back in. But I do think that the intuition and the eye of the photographer should be honored over hyper stylized, overly staged composition. I think that is just lame. And it makes every photo look the same. When every photo is just, overdone, and over stylized and over planned, it's just enough. It's enough. My favorite photographers are those that rely on their aesthetic talent and their eye to know in their heart when a good photo presents itself to them. But who knows? Who knows what the future holds? Probably nothing good. With the advent of AI, people are in an uproar. AI is also contributing towards the death of photography, but it's funny. You see these people on Twitter up in arms about AI and image generation, and they think that AI is the death of photography. and other stuff, but photography specifically, photographers complain about it as if they aren't the death of photography. As if their images are genuine. They're not. They're overly staged, overly stylized. They are overly edited. You'll have someone complaining about AI, but then they use generative fill to remove objects from their photos. So at what point is when does your photo lose its genuine quality? When is it just as bad as AI? I think as soon as you throw it in Lightroom, it might as well be. As soon as you edit it in any kind of way, it might as well be. The fix it in Lightroom mentality has just got out of hand. And maybe this is just gatekeeping, but maybe gatekeeping is necessary. Not everyone should do everything. Not everyone can do everything. Not everyone should be a photographer. Or any artist for that matter. Any kind of artist. Some people just should find something else. If photography is going to be redeemed, if photography is going to be saved or redeemed, then it has to be respected again, which means photographers have to be respectable again, which means that there probably needs to be less of them. So I know it's a big black pill and it's not a fun topic, and it's, some people will absolutely have an issue with everything I've said, but I stand by it and I think it's true. But this video is mainly an experiment to see, how these thoughts sounded out loud. And if any of them resonate with you, let me know. Shout out to a channel called Hotaru's Lens. I'll leave a link in the description for his channel and for a video he did on Osamu Kanemura. If you want to know more about him, he did an excellent video. He's done a few videos on Japanese photographers that are fucking amazing. So definitely check him out. And yeah, leave a comment whether you agree or disagree or want to send me death threats or, money. I don't care. I'll reply to all of them obsessively. Don't worry. I will. So, I might make more videos depending on how this one comes out and what I think. But anyway, have a good night. Maybe I'll make a better setup next time.